When I came to, my head was pounding and ringing. I said, "Oh, my head." As things started to clear, I realized that something seemed very off. I opened my eyes, and I was looking through the eye filters of my old Spider-Man costume. I yelled, and inadvertently I let go of the web line I was holding because I was hanging upside down. I quickly recovered and shot another whip line so I could swing to a nearby roof. When I landed, I took my mask off for a moment and looked around. I could see that I was in New York City, where I grew up. I thought for a moment. The last thing I remember was being on the mountaintop of Viridian 3. Then nothing. I needed to find out what was going on, so I put my mask back on and headed for my old job at the Daily Bugle. As I'm swinging through the city, I was silently thanking myself for doing this on a somewhat regular basis on the holodeck. Otherwise, I might be running into a couple walls. When I made it to the Bugle, I changed back into my street clothes and headed for the office of the editor-in-chief of the paper, J. Jonah Jameson. As I entered his office, I was expecting him to start yelling at me like he usually does. However, he looked at me, smiled, and said, "Hello, Jonathan, how are you today?" I wanted to say, "Who are you, and what have you done with JJ?" But I said, "I'm not sure, Mr. Jameson. This has been a weird morning." I was about to ask for today's paper so I can get a clue as to what was going on, when Robbie Robertson, the co-editor, came in and said, "Jonah, you need to see this." And he turned on the main TV. A reporter came on and said, "If you are just now joining us, we are live on Liberty Island, where someone is trying to steal Lady Liberty herself." Jameson muted the audio, turned to me and said, "Dibble, get over there, Ann." I was already heading for the door and said, "Get pictures, I know the routine." And he said, "No, get down there and stop whoever is doing this." I looked him right in the eye and said, "How in the world am I supposed to do that?" Then he said, "For crying out loud, Dibble, have you been living under a rock all this time? You're Spider-Man." When he said that, I was stunned. The only thing I could make myself say was, "What did you say?" Robbie looked at me and said, "You're Spider-Man." I had no time to find out how they knew that, and I knew that I needed a faster mode of travel if I was going to get to Liberty Island in time to stop whoever was from stealing our national monument. So I said, "If you know about that, then I'm guessing you know about this too." I said I was going ghost and then changed forms. They looked at me like, "Yes, we know about that as well." So I turned intangible and went through the wall and flew as fast as I could toward Liberty Island, which was about 114 miles per hour. As I was flying toward the island, I was wondering who would be smart enough to pull something like this off, yet also dumb enough to do it as well. When I got closer, I could see helicopters and a lot of police boats, and a lot of camera and news crews. When I was even closer, I saw that the person behind all this was Dr. Otto Octavius. I approached him and said, "Gee, Doc, I thought you were a smart guy. You go and pull a stunt like this." He turned around and I was getting ready for a fight when he went, "Oh no, it's Jonathan Dibble. I surrender." Then he put Lady Liberty down and surrendered himself, and the police arrested him. I'm like, that was way too easy. With everything under control, I headed back to the mainland with people applauding me. I went to the top of the Chrysler building and just looked around. I was grinning from ear to ear. Something did not feel right. My smile faded and I said, "This isn't right." I flew down to street level and changed back to my human form and said, "This cannot be real." Then a voice from behind me said, "It's as real as you want it to be." I whirled around to see who could have snuck up on me, and with my spider sense, that was pretty much impossible. Then I saw that it was Guinan, and that was why she didn't register my spider sense. And I walked up to her and asked where I was. She said this was the Nexus. I said, "The Nexus?" And she said, "Yes." I looked around and said, "But how?" Jameson hates Spider-Man. He has made it his goal in life to make New York hate me. And he never knew that I was Spider-Man. And nobody knew about my ghost powers until I revealed them on the Enterprise. Guinan said that I could make the Nexus about anything I wanted. I nodded at this. Then I realized something. I turned to her and said, I thought you were on the Enterprise. She said that she was. But she was also here. Think of me as an echo of the person that you know. I thought for a moment and said, when the Enterprise B beamed you up from the Lacool. Then a kid ran up to me and said, Jonathan! Jonathan! I looked down and said, yes, my own friend. And he said, I just wanted to thank you for putting your life on the line to keep us safe. I got down on one knee and said, that's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me. He held his arms out and I gave him a quick hug. Then he ran over to a woman who I assumed was his mother. I stood back up and heard police sirens, and sure enough, 4 police cars went by. I was about to shoot out a whip line and go after them when I remembered what Guinan had said. If you go, you will not care about anyone. I looked at Guinan and made my choice. Can I leave the Nexus? She asked me where I would go. I did not understand the question. She said, well, like Soren said, time has no meaning here. So if you go, you can go anywhere, anytime. I said, okay, I know exactly where I want to go. To the mountaintop on Veridian 3, just before Soren destroyed the star. I need to stop him. Then a bad thought struck me. I looked at Guinan and said, what happened to Captain Picard? She smiled and said he was in the Nexus as well, and was going to do the same thing as well. I smiled and realized that we needed help. I looked at Guinan and said, if you can come back with us. She stopped me and said, I can't go with you. I'm already there, remember? However, I think I know someone who can. And then things started to fade to black, and she said, and from his point of view, he just arrived as well.